Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ASEAN for the People's Conference 2025 and welcome to room ASEAN 5. We will soon begin our second session in this room, D2, from land and sea to the table, building resilient and sustainable food systems, which will be conducted in English. Bagi yang membutuhkan penerjemah ke dalam bahasa Indonesia, silakan ambil perangkat yang tersedia di meja dekat pintu masuk. Saat meninggalkan ruangan, mohon tinggalkan perangkat tersebut di tempat duduk Anda. We kindly ask all participants to take their seats as we will begin shortly. For those who wish to go to restroom or the prayer room, please follow the sign outside. To start our session, D2, from land and sea to the table, building resilience and sustainable food system, I would like to invite Anton Rizky Sulaiman, CEO at the Center for Indonesian Policy Studies, who will moderate this discussion. Everyone, please welcome Anton Rizky Sulaiman.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anton Rizky. I am from the Center for Indonesian Policy Studies, and I'll be your moderator today in this discussion called From Land and Sea to the Table, How to Create Resilient and Sustainable Food Systems for All. And of course, food security is a very important issue because we know that food is very important for people to survive, of course, and we have a lot of challenges: climate change, environmental degradation, global dynamics in trade, and etc., which can affect food security, which covers the availability of food, the access of people they have to food, and also the stability of this food supply, as well as how people are using food for their nutrition as a utilization aspect. So to discuss this important issue, we already have several interesting panelists that I will call to discuss with us this afternoon. First, may I call Insan Shafaat, or Ino, who is the Executive Director at PIS Agro, the Partnership for Indonesian Sustainable Agriculture, just over there. Yeah, Mr. Ino. Second, I will call from Cambodia, Kim Naliev, Country Director of the Cambodia Partnership for Sustainable Agriculture. So maybe Mas Ino's counterpart from Cambodia, Sustainable Agriculture as well. And lastly, but not least, Mr. Eugenio Lemos, or we call Ego, from Timor-Leste, CEO of Permatil TL and Permatil Global, and also the Special Envoy of President Timor-Leste and Goodwill Ambassador for Culture, Environment, and Water Resources. Right, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Hopefully we'll have like a vibrant and interesting discussion, a useful discussion involving everyone here. So talking about food security, there's a lot of understanding about what it means. Maybe even policymakers and leaders have their own ideas. In Indonesia, we talk a lot about food sovereignty, food self-sufficiency, but we know that security is much more than that. So maybe as a first question, I would like to ask to the three panelists here, and maybe you have your perspectives from your own home countries. What would you say are the main challenges, main vulnerabilities in terms of food security in ASEAN, and especially in your countries? Maybe I will start from Mas Ino over there. Yeah.
Thank you, Mas Anton. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore, good afternoon. Again, my name is Ino, representing the Partnership for Indonesia Sustainable Agriculture from Indonesia. First of all, I would like to thank FPCI and the ASEAN for the People Conference for inviting us today. The first question is already with a lot of pressure. I think it's a big question, but I think if you want to talk about food security, we need to understand that food security consists of four main components, right? So we talk about availability of foods, we talk about availability, affordability, the quality of the food, and the sustainability of the food. Now, think of those components and then put it in the Indonesia context, because I represent Indonesia, so I have to speak Indonesia. Our food security, I think based on the global, Mas Anton Global Food Security Index, I think we are number 4 in ASEAN. So I don't know, but I forgot. It's Singapore, Malaysia, Brunei, I think, but we're number 4, which is still good at, compared to other ASEAN countries, but still we have issues there in between. I don't want to go in details about it, but if we are thinking of Indonesia, I think as many other producing countries in the region, Timor-Leste and Cambodia, we're pretty much dominated by the farmer, smallholder. So if you think about the Indonesian agriculture, think about that there are a lot of farmer in Indonesia, which is the main components to increase the vital part to increase our agriculture sector. In the simple part, well, I don't want to say it's simple because it's not actually simple, but if you want to help, if you want to increase the sector, then let's put our focus in the farmer, right? So the question is, what are the most challenges? So if we then put it more focus on the smallholder, there'll be a lot of issues at the smallholder level or the farmers level. We think about legality. Some of our farmers are sitting in, I would say, green areas, which is good because they are able to get their land certificates. But some other are sitting in the gray areas, abu-abu, or even red areas, lahan merah, red or gray in between forest areas, or those the status are not clear. These smallholder who are sitting in those areas are not able to get the land certificate, which can cause then bigger issues: limited access to finance, limited access to markets, technologies, and so on and so forth. I would love to go details about it, but I would allow, I think, the other panelists to speak. Thank you, Mas Anton.
Might take some time. Thank you for the opening. So several issues there, farmers, and of course, if we talk about farmers, there are even more issues than just the food security. It's about the prosperity of the farmers themselves, which happens in Indonesia. But I imagine it's also similar in other countries. So maybe you can also share, Kimna, in the Cambodian experience or any other experience that you know around the region.
Yes, selamat sore. Good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Kimna. I'm from Cambodia. Similar to Indonesia context, Cambodia also have the same challenge in terms of infrastructures, access to finance, policy, and technology on agriculture. Majority of Cambodian people, more than 80%, are farmers, and they are a bit of background of Cambodian people. In my parents' generation, they are going through the war regime, so their education is very low, and what they are strong in terms of survival skill and hardworking, but entrepreneurship, technology, and literacy is very low, and they are being easy influenced or take advantage by people, external factor in the market value chains, and as well as they are vulnerable to coping with the climate change and access to finance. Because like this morning we have learned about the cost of operation of financial transaction. Many NGO, many finance institutions like World Bank, ADB invest a lot of fund in Cambodia, but who can access to those funds? Advise, and who can operate the service deliver to the smallholder farmer level. We cannot design the products that fit to farmer at all. And because the cost of loan design systems, so on and so forth, loan operation, it costs a lot already. And it takes most of the budget when it delivered to the farmer. Plus, there's no risk sharing is also another main concern because farming is, we can say, is a very complex business. We do the business, we work, we know what we're going to earn. We can budget our project clearly by the end of month, by the end of the years. But farmer doesn't know what they earn by the end of the harvest season, what will the price will be, what volume of the product will be harvest, and including quality, and they need to go through the hazard and so on and so forth. So this is very vulnerable in Cambodia context. But people has no change, they don't have job. There's no job at the provincial level for farmers. So what they can do is farming, and they need to bear their own risk from season from time to time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimna. Maybe, Ego, you can also share a little bit about your perspectives from Timor-Leste.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for having me here, and also thanks for Anton and also the fellow panelists and also the audience. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, so when we're talking about food security, it's something that relates to our diet. The changing of the diet is also influence the agriculture system itself. Giving from Timor-Leste perspective, 1960, Timor-Leste already achieved food sufficiency. And because every household growing variety of food crops and eating variety of food according to the season, so harvest season. But then, because of the influence of the global market, and then slowly, the diet starting to change. And that's also influenced the agriculture system itself. So starting from people eating variety of food crops, starting to depending on one or two food type only. For instance, Timor-Leste used to grow variety of food crops, but now we also become rice eater. And Timor-Leste, the topography is more mountain than flatland. And because of Timor-Leste is a tropical country, and we don't have much water to grow rice. But because majority of the population, them relying on rice as a staple, so of course it's forcing the country to import the rice from other country, this is the cause of food security. So from my perspective, it's better to give it back the right to the people to determine what they grow and what they eat. And starting to investing in education to teach our young children how to eat variety of food crops based on the food season. Because every food that grow seasonally, they have immune that protect people's human immune system. But today, because everyone depending on the market demand, so we eating the food that sometimes is not on the season. So today we having so much problem with health because we eating wrong food in the wrong season. Thank you.
Thank you, Ego. That's quite interesting. I mean, um, there's changing behavioral patterns of how people consume food, which is the utilization aspect of food security. People in Indonesia, for instance, we now like noodles, which we need to import flour because we cannot produce that. It's not in our climate. So the same issue, right? We are big eater of Indomie, and we need to do that. And when there's a disaster, the first thing that people send are, package of Indomie. So it's kind of a change in. So there's another aspect of food diversification as well, like and local production, and which I think we'll come back to later on. But now I want to focus on the smallholders issue. At CHIPS we have been working on food security for since our inception, like 10 years ago. And there are a lot of issues in food security, but then we also realize that at the heart of it, we cannot talk about food security if we don't talk about the farmers. And the farmers remain the most vulnerable and the poorest in Indonesia, and I believe so also in several other countries. So we mentioned here several issues like access to finance, technology, a lot of barriers, and then risk sharing. They are basically a business, but they cannot operate as a business. So how do we deal with that? So maybe I will ask to Kimna, and then maybe Masino can also add. What reforms are needed? What kind of help, what kind of ecosystem needs to be built for smallholder farmers so that they can actually become more prosperous? And if they are, then we can talk about ensuring our food security as a country and as a region.
Yes, thank you for this question. And recently, after another incident with our neighbor country, Cambodian people, we start to consume more of local products, which is good for our local production. And we have more migrant workers from Thailand back to Cambodia. So we have more resource to, hopefully we can mobilize them to work on the farms. And what we need is the production plan and the policy from the government to control all the data of country consumption and import and export data, because many SME, they're looking for this data, but they never been found. They need information to do the project and to do the planning, product planning and business plan, but we lack of data. And we don't know where to find the data and who is responsible for this information and who control the import and export side. We need to manage all of these system together. And another thing that we need is the infrastructure and the cost of input supply. And many farmers at the rural area, no road access, not enough water, and so on and so forth. So, and especially the transportation. The transportation cost is very high, and even no transportation accept the food, particularly for the food delivery and from farm to the market. Yeah. Farmers struggle, they harvest and they leave a pile of product at the local or village market for a few days, and it's expired. This is our main challenge, and in terms of technology, we have a challenge of upfront cost, and again, back to the knowledge and capacity of the institution, the school and of agriculture and the user like farmer. They need to be, it's related to the user accepted behavior. And we need a pilot project of the successful project so far. We have some minimal project that been success, but the cost is a lot. The multi-donor project invest in the cooperatives, but the result is still not satisfied because of the high input, high cost of system setup. Yeah. Unlike in Indonesia, I know many mobile application in farm practice is being well used by the farmer, but in Cambodia, people does not trust, farmer does not trust in the system. Yeah, in the IT. Thank you. You have anything to add?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
What
Okay.
was the question again?
Yeah, just what kind of reforms or changes in terms of regulations, in terms of creating the ecosystem that can help, smallholders, in improving their prosperity and then so that they can produce better and with better productivity.
Right. Okay. Um, so I think before that, let me bring us back again to the Indonesian agricultural landscape. Yeah, I just came back, not came back. I just came from Bogor this morning. Bogor, for those who are not familiar with Bogor, it's an hour and a half from here. Attended an FGD there, where I realized again that the Indonesian agriculture sector is the number it's number two on the income for Indonesia. So before the what other industry, that's agriculture, but people who are working in agriculture, that includes farmer on the other value chains and supply chains, are the poorest in Indonesia. I'm not sure in Cambodia or in Timor Leste. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. And those are, again, dominated by the farmer, right? I want to ask probably the audience, who of you, raise your hand if you know actually numbers of our farmer, Indonesian agriculture farmers. Please raise your hand. No? No idea? Well, you can Google it later, but
Just a guess.
yes, please. You know how many of the Indonesian farmer?
So I would like to bet to bet between 20 or 30 or 30, 20 to 30.
Yeah, 30-ish. 30-ish
30-ish,
million of
30-ish, yeah,
smallholders.
30 million, yeah.
Yeah.
30 million farmers across Indonesia.
Yeah.
I just want to bet.
That's Henry
Yeah,
from
that's
Peace
it.
Agro, so you should have known that. If not, then I'll kick him out. Anyways, yes, 30-ish million of smallholder. Now, if I want to go in certain commodities, Indonesia is very big on palm oil. We are the largest producer in palm oil. Do you know how many smallholders work in the palm oil? Around 45% of the landscape. Now, cocoa and coffee. Indonesia also produces cocoa. We are number 6. Coffee, we are number 3. Do you know how many smallholders work in these commodities? Dor. 92% of the landscape. Last one, rubber. We are number 4th in the world. Do you know how many smallholders that work in the landscape? 99% of the landscape of rubber sector is smallholder. So this is real number, right? And this really shows the importance of farmer in the supply chain. Now the question is from Mas Anton is how we are supposed, as the ASEAN per region, how we're supposed to help these friends of ours work in agriculture. A bit of advertisement, not a promotions of what Peace Agro is doing. So it's an associations of private sector that are engage with smallholders, work with the smallholder, partner with smallholders, and help smallholders increase their productivities, increase their resiliencies and sustainability efforts. So our core of the work is to help smallholder. What we are doing at Peace Agro is to build what Mas Anton already said, the ecosystem. We are putting the smallholders at the heart of the system. I should have brought the one slide of it, but we can talk about it later. But there's the approach that Peace Agro is doing. It's called the inclusive closed loop model, where we're putting the smallholder at the heart of it, and we connect our farmer with the many stakeholders that they need. So for instance, as Peace Agro, I facilitate the connections of the farmer to the companies as off-taker. So companies as the brand that you just mentioned, or other brands, that we connect them with the off-taker. But connecting with off-taker is just one part because it only shows the business transactions of it. Farmers has product, and then the company would then buy the products for them, right? So there's a win-win. But in the future, when this business transaction happens, there will be more of the accesses that these farmers need. For instance, access of capacity building. Of course, as companies, we want to, because we want to help our farmer, we would expect that farmer would have the same level of productivities, same level of what you call that, good agriculture practices that they could, do with in the same level of with the companies, and then access to technologies as well. And then I want to now focus on the finance, because one of those part that the inclusive closed loop model help support is to connect smallholder with the banking, the financial sector, right? So this system then would allow our farmer to thrive, right? Because they would have the guarantee, right, to get this many accesses, so they would have what you call that, naik kelas, right? An upgrade of their livelihood, right? So this is just a small part. I'll pause here. I'd like to go detail on the finance, but maybe for another questions.
Yeah, sure,
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you, Masino and Kimna. So here we've seen, right, but if we talk about food security, we talk about farmers, then it's a lot about the support system that they have, right? The supporting services, infrastructure, transportation, data, access to finance, and all of this is actually what is needed by farmers. And we have to look at farmers as economic players who are able to do that, but they are not given the chance to do that. And a lot of the focus by governments are programmatic, what kind of help, what kind of assistance they can have, which maybe it's not really what they need. What they need is, what is the ecosystem that the government can help build. But looking at more like a micro level, I would say, at the very local level, there are also things that can be done, right, to improve. So at the community level, this is where I will ask Ego. So what kind of community kind of initiatives can also be done to support this? You mentioned that in the past, maybe it's not an issue even in Indonesia. People produce their own food, and we survived until now without many problems. So is there a way to also get that back to that situation? Yeah.
Thank you, Masanto. So I'd like to share from the perspective of Timor-Leste. Because of those issues that the people are facing, so water is one of the issues. Because many spring has been dried out. So when we're talking about growing food, without water is impossible. So that's why the strategy to addressing restoring the water sources by working on recharging the rain that instead of letting goes to the ocean, but recharge back to the ground to feed the aquifer, so that to reviving the springs, the creeks, the rivers, so that to allow the vegetation growth. So this is, we're working mainly with young people, because Timor-Leste is 70% is under 35 years old. I mean, Timor-Leste is the youngest country. So that's why our strategy is to working more with young people. So, and second, when we're talking about farmers, we always referring to the old people, middle-aged people. I think not only Timor-Leste, but every country in Asia is facing the crisis of young people left the rural area. Why? Because our education system is dragging the young people away from farming system. Even though they study agriculture, after they finish, they don't want to go back to the farm, because the education system is dragging them away from the farm itself. So the strategy right now, how can we make the agriculture become sexy again for the young people? And in Timor-Leste, apart from we working with the young people, the youth, every year we are organizing an event called Permaculture Youth Camp. You can Google it, called Perma Youth Camp. So this become annual event. In October 20, we're gonna have the first international permaculture youth convergence will be held in Timor. It's called Planting Water, Growing Communities, which is addressing the water issues not by putting infrastructure, but working on the ecosystem itself. So, and third, Timor-Leste government is quite progressing, is accepting the ideas to integrate it into the national curriculum, which is now the school garden program. It's become compulsory subject under the discipline of art and culture, which is allow every school to grow, create a living laboratory, so that not only to learn about growing, but also for learning other sciences in practical ways. And now I'm working with Ministry of Education on developing the curriculum. So right now we are focused on developing the curriculum up to grade 9. And also we're integrating the water restoration activities part of the national curriculum for the middle school. So which is, this is one of the ideas from Timor-Leste, which is all Asian countries can look at the strategy, how can we investing in education to educate our young generation to look at the agriculture, ecosystem restoration in the bigger way. So thanks.
Yeah, that's a great point, I think, about education, but also about who's going to become the farmers of the future. No farmers, no production, then no food security at the end of the day. So very good point about education, but also how the education system is actually pushing people away. And I don't think any youngsters here wants to say that they're, what they want to become. They want to own if you want to own plantations or you want to become farmers one day. Thank you very much for the panelists. So now I'm going to go to the next phase of the discussion. I believe we have 2 discussants with us today, and I will ask them to ask their first questions to the panelists. So from Rabu Biru Foundation, sir, and then from Indonesia, and then from Asia DHRRA from the Philippines. Okay, so yeah, please, from Rabu Biru Foundation first, maybe your question or comments. Rabu Biru Foundation.
Rabu Biru Foundation, yes. Okay, then I'll stand up. Hi, my name is Fauzal. I'm representing Rabu Biru Foundation. Maybe a bit of background. My personal experience is in commercial banking and then startup, and then now representing the foundation. So in the context of food security and food system is a very complex supply chain with so many stakeholders, right? From agri-input manufacturers to agri-ops operation, post-harvest so that it extends shelf life, and at the end, the market or off-taker. So the things that we have seen in Indonesia and maybe in the region as well is there's a lot of solutions there's a lot of motivation to help the farmers to increase their prosperity and at the same time increasing food security for the nation. So, but maybe one thing that I would like to address and maybe ask question on, out of all of the variables of doing agriculture, from water availability and quality, seed type, access to finance, and so on, is there anything that you have seen that focuses on increasing soil quality? Soil. The reason being is for a lot of people that might not know yet, Indonesia gone through industrial revolution on agriculture maybe for the past 60 to 80 years. So because of food crisis, we put urea and chemical fertilizer to boost productivity, which is how in 1980s we got swasembada pangan. But the result of that in the long term is a huge dependency on chemical agri-inputs, which resulted in lower productivity, but also dying soil. right? So I just want to know from any of your experiences, what have you seen, either Indonesia or even regionally or internationally, that work? Because in Rabu Biru Foundation, we focus on three things. One, food security, which is exactly the topic today. Second is nutrition, especially for the 1,000 days of inception of a human being from the womb until 2 years old, especially to fight against stunting and so on, for Indonesia Emas 2014. And the third one is healthcare, right? So one of the pillar in the context of food security that we believe is really critical is how can we increase the soil quality of Indonesia because of the mass industrialization and intensification that we have done for so many years. So I think I'll stop there first, but happy to chat more after this. Thank you.
Thank you from.
Fauzal Rizki, yeah.
Fauzal from Rabu Biru. I'll take the question from Philippines, Asia DHRA. Fauzal.
Thank you very much. My name is Afan. I'm actually Indonesian, but I work in the Philippines. My organization is Asia. So I actually don't have any question. It's just several comments that I take from our discussion. First of all, thank you very much for pointing out that really the centrality of food security is on farmers, no? Especially the smallholders. The famous research of FAO, no? Yeah, 2 years or 3 years ago, stating that the 80% of food in the world is produced by family farmers, and 60% of which are from smallholders. So if we do simple calculation, it's 50%, almost 50% of our food are produced by smallholders, those who have lands under 2 hectares. So from that number we can feel, no, the centrality of farmers there. But I beg to differ when the panelists say that there's a lot of problem with farmers, no? I mean, I don't think the problem is with farmers. Even without us, even without government, farmers will still live, no? They produce, they eat it, and they survive, they live. The problem is the food system for me. Really. The problem is it's with the food system itself, no? So rather than reforming the food system, we need to transform the food system. In human history, we have at least two big transformation of food system. First, from hunter-gatherer to agriculture in the cradle of life in River Nile, and then one that was mentioned before by Mr. Rizky on the Green Revolution, no? Several decades ago. So we need to transform it again. We need to change it, no? Because we already see there is a problem to it. So let's think about it again. First, maybe what we can see is our question should be, do the farmers have their own land? Have we done our agrarian reform correctly? Not just legality, not just certification, no? Have we shared our land to our farmers, the one that produce our food? And then do we have already good policy support? Do we have good business environment for farmers? Do we support co-creation of knowledge? Because right now in our organization, the biggest problem, the biggest sector that the most difficult one to connect is actually the academe. It's very hard for them to acknowledge a co-creation of knowledge with farmers. That's really our, maybe there's other experience, but from our side, that's really the problem. So really, it's really the food transformation, the food system transformation. ASEAN this year approved the ASEAN guideline on agroecology transition. No? Maybe we can check that, and then because there is some discussion on how we can create or how we can transform our food system and build up the food security of the nation. And I'm really interested. I hope I can go to Permatil sometimes to understand more about the planting water. No, it's very interesting. Uh, the last one, the last comment, then how then we can improve this? First, I would like to, how can I say it? I would like to point out that we need to increase farmers' representativity. I actually asked the committee, the one that handled this session, I asked him how many farmers here in the room or in the AFPC is it known? No? So the one that really farmers as a livelihood, no, not just farmers as a side hobby, no, there's none. So I mean, this forum, who is supposed to be for people, but the underrepresentative is not here. The farmers, underrepresented is not here for farmers, and then let's make farmers not only the central but the leader of this movement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mas Elvan. So we have one question and one big comment about, I think, food system transformation and how we can actually make the farmers maybe have a farmer-driven agriculture. So the farmers are not only the center, but as the leader of it all, so that we have a better food security. But from Rabu Biro Foundation, there's a question about soil quality. I think maybe any of you want to respond? Okay, I go first. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'll try to answer a question from Mr. Faisal. Yeah, regarding the improvement of the soil quality. And I totally agree that because of the impact of the influence of the green revolution is really impact on also the soil quality because of the using chemical fertilizer, pesticide, and so on. And so now I think it's come to time that we need to decide where to go. I think Afat also already mentioned that about agroecology, because I think agroecology is the way to helping the smallholder and also improving, changing our agriculture system into more sustainable and ecological. So I sharing about Timor-Leste experience. Since long time now, we starting to reduce the use of fertilizer and pesticide. I think up to our coffee is 100% organic. That's why Timor-Leste produce small amount of coffee, but it's a really good coffee, totally 100%, become exporter commodity. And second, I think 95% of the farmers is using organic fertilizer. Why? Because Timor-Leste have so much, organic matter, from agriculture waste, which is just a matter of how to learn about the technique to use that to make into organic compost that can help improve or boost the soil fertility. So as I mentioned about the school garden called permaculture garden in school, which is 100% is teaching the kids about organic farming, about compost, living fence, rice garden bed, which is very easy for the kids, for the family. This is the way we need to go to improve our soil quality. So I think right now with the permaculture movement and agroecological program in Timor-Leste, now it's become a big movement in Timor. I think Timor-Leste is one of the biggest agroecological youth in I think in Asia probably, because right now young people is very active on promoting permaculture and agroecology. So slowly, we're starting to changing, using more into organic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ego. Maybe some additions, Mas, I mean, I believe that Pisagro, you also have some initiatives on regenerative agriculture, for
Yeah,
instance.
that's
Yeah.
so just both. Yeah, I respond to both.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Um, yeah, the first, Mas Fauzal, soil. Yes. So this is pretty much new. Um, Last year at Pisagro, we established what we call regenerative agriculture working group. So in this working group, we talk about, of course, several commodities. We collect information from several of our members, companies who are doing regenerative agriculture. FYI, regenerative agriculture is a term that actually our government is not familiar with. Indonesian government is not familiar with. There are many terms that our members, companies under Pisagro are using this term, but with different type of practices as well. In cocoa sector, regenerative agriculture is translated into what they call agroforestry. In other commodities like probably food crops, it's called social forestry or climate smart agriculture. But there are lots of names in terms of regenerative agriculture. But one thing that we were just discussing it just few days ago, 3 days ago. It's about the soil, Mas Fauza. So a lot of our focus now on the regenerative agriculture is talking about how to regenerate soil, how to increase the soil functions. It's not that we're not focusing on smallholder anymore, but we talk more now on soil within these working groups, which means that um, our activities in the future is going to be. It takes lots of discussions. It takes a lot of engagement with the governments in terms of how we could increase this function soil, putting probably, as Ego said, more organic fertilizer or less pesticides or whatnot. We try to formulate different commodities using different these type of input materials because different commodities have different nature of how they're. So this is something that we would like to discuss alongside with this, and I'm happy to also share that Mas Anton is initiating this Food Future Forum. That regenerative agriculture is one of the things that you're focusing, right? So if you guys are interested in the future, please contact Mas Anton to involve in lots of discussions, right? On the soil, Mas Faza. The second one is to respond to Mas Afat. Afat. Let's agree that I didn't say that farmer is the issue, right? Yeah. But let's agree that farmers are not the issue. The issue is that farmers have limited access to get the things that they need, right? And the data has shown, Mas Afat, that lots of farmers, I'm not saying everyone, but lots of farmers even they don't have land certificates. Even if they do have land certificates, it's not going to be under their name. So, for instance, Insan Shafaat Ino has 2 hectares of rubber, but it's under Mas Anton's name. So it would limit me to access to finance. Bank would not recognize me as the owner of the land because it's under Anton's name. So that's one of the examples and how farmers have these big issues that stakeholders need to work together hand in hand to help them, right? There are cases, Mas Afat. I mean, if you want to talk later or other outside this room, I could give you some of the examples of how the inclusive closed loop model that I just mentioned earlier have successfully supported or helped the smallholder to get, for instance, land certificates and whatnot. And then there's something that I forgot, but I need to. Oh, you've mentioned about the food system transformations. Yes, I agree. For those who are not from here, our current president, crown jewels, there are 2 things that we need, to understand. The crown jewels is one is self-sufficient food, swasembada pangan. The second one is school meal program, MBG, makanan bergizi gratis. But apart, let's not discuss about the issues lately that have been raised on the news. But these two initiatives are actually very important, right? Not only for the future of the kids, for school students, but for the agriculture itself. The first self-sufficient food, Mas Afat, is actually just to recognize um, local food systems, as Ego has mentioned also earlier, is to uh, what you call that? Local wisdom. That's the word. It's to recognize local wisdom more and then work with the community and then establish the ecosystem there. But also it is to make sure that our rice, our corn for the people, because those are most important part of our Pat Sehat Lima Sempurna. I don't know that in English though, but if someone needs to help me with that.
I don't think that exists.
Those are very important. So this is translated as the self-sufficient food. But now, school meal program, right? Let's not, let's avoid talking about the issues. But school meal program has actually, is actually the best way now to also help with the food system, Mas Afat. Because if you think about well, I cannot represent the governments there, but because we are trying to contribute to this, so we engage with the governments. And what we heard from the government is they have this beautiful structure working with 86 or 88,000 of villages in Indonesia and form what they call red and white cooperative, and so that they would create mini food system local. Well, of course, we have to, of course, be aware of the establishments of it, the systems, and then the monitor with how this school meal program is working. But the idea is beautiful. I guess we are here now. Let's as a citizen we need to see how this continue to develop. But I believe this is one of the programs of our president now that is potentially have a big potentials to have our future students.
Yeah.
Thank you. I hope that responds, Mas Fauzal, Mas Afat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Kimna, do you want to add something?
The point that Afat raising regarding smallholder farmers. Actually, in Cambodia, back in the past years, they grow their own, for smallholder usually own farm between 1 to 2 hectare lands. And they plant their own rice and they keep it and they eat the harvest products for year round. They are not getting angry and they can find the forest food or ponds, fish free in the village. But when we promote them to do commercial farm, this is the challenge. Smallholder farmer with the small mean the cost, they need to set up the whole farm system the same as a big farm. Why in the other country like developed country, farmer are richer than employer, even richer than government staff, because they do it as commercial scale. They control everything. They have the perfect system or good system within their farm. But for smallholder farmer, everything is costly compared to their own finance capital. Yeah, that is the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kimna. Yes. Small addition.
Yeah, just a quick one. From my point of view, to sustain our food production system more sustainable, I think from my point of view, we need to ensure three components. One is water. So the farmers need to access to water. Second, seeds. The farmers need to access to seeds, not just buying from the shop, but they have to able to multiply their own seeds annually so that they don't depend on the market all the time. And the third, improve of the soil quality and also access to the land. And probably Mas Ino already mentioned about access to credit. So if we can make sure that the farmers access to those components, I'm sure that our food production system can be sustainable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ego. Well, due to time, I can take one question, but please make it short. Mas Fazal, you want to? Okay, yes. Yeah, and then one quick response, and then one quick question, and then yeah.
First of all, thank you so much to the panelists for the answers. So I want to quickly touch on two things about the soil and about the point of food system transformation. So Rabu Biru Foundation, part of our work, we are working with the partner to do one part of Reg Agri called carbon farming. You can check carbonfarming.id. So what it does is is basically instead of feeding the plant, where you're gonna plant this, you're gonna give this much of NPK and so on, we focus on regenerating the soil, where the microbes that is already there is one generating the nutrition. So we're doing that through chemicals. Basically, we're doing genocide on the bacteria, basically, right? So we are basically using carbon and other inputs to basically increase soil quality. So that's number one. And the second point on food system transformation, there's a lot of homework by a lot of stakeholders, right? But maybe something that would be really value creating is if we can create an ecosystem where all of the components that Mas said about the access of seed, financing, market, and so on can be focused on a specific geographical area where certain food is generating for the food of that particular geographical location. So it's basically closed loop, hyper local, not just centralized, right? Yeah. So you'll be adding a very huge value, because another challenge that we face, for example, in doing carbon farming, carbon is not consumables. So it's not something that you put over and over again because it goes away. It's permanent. But the question is, carbon is expensive for the soil. Who's going to finance this? Especially if the farmer doesn't actually own the land. It rents so how will finance be accessed? So there's a lot of technology that is locally created but lacks financing. And that's, I think, a primary business model challenge that can be unlocked if you really think about it, not just on a value chain basis, but as an ecosystem. Right? So I think that's something that I'm going to leave behind for everybody in the room today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Mas Fazal. Since time is up, so we will not take any questions, but we can still continue to discuss anytime we are here. You can still discuss. So I will thank all the panelists. Maybe I will try to summarize this a little bit. So we know that for food security, there are many challenges facing all countries in the region. We need to help them have a better support system, better ecosystem. And I think the idea is to have the food system transformation where we put the farmers as not only the central at it, but also the driver. I like that idea, a farmer-driven agriculture, and transform our systems towards that. Well, thank you very much to the panelists, Mas Ino, and then, Kimna and Ego, for your discussions, very good, and also the discussants. Thank you very much, and I hope it was very useful for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to our panelists for such an insightful discussion. Before closing this session, we invite the panelists to remain on stage for a group photo.